Hello guys, it's Josh from Sportitude here today, and it is shoe review time, and we're going to be doing the Brooks Levitate version 2. There we go. A little guy that's just dropped into our warehouse middle of 2018. So there's a bit that's changed with this shoe, not a lot, but all the changes are in the upper, and there's some considerable amount of good changes that I really like, which I want to talk to you about today, but I won't skip over the midsole and the outsole because that's obviously a vitally important part about why this shoe is successful. Let's talk about what foot type should be sitting inside the Brooks Levitate version 2. Now we're talking about a foot that is neutral to supinated in its design. So we're talking about a high pitch navicular region, sort of a slightly raised arch, as you can see through here. There's a bit of a gap between the arch and the ground. So when we're going through our gait cycle, heel, mid stance, we're not collapsing in this arch region through here and flattening out that plantar fascia. We're staying quite high, quite pitched, almost to the point where we're supinating and the pressure's on the outside of the foot. So neutral to supinated foot type can quite comfortably get themselves inside the Brooks Levitate version 2. Now let me just touch on the widths first and foremost before I get too carried away into the midsole components. Now ladies and men's, we're talking standard widths only. We've got B in the ladies and we've got a D in the men's. B ladies, D men. So just your standard widths there. They haven't, with the Levitate family, broken out into any width offerings just yet, but never say never. Brooks could have it on the cards for future ranges. So as I have said in my intro, with this shoe here, the changes are all in the upper. However, I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if I didn't start from the ground and work my way up. So let's talk about the outsole configuration. They've got an outsole through here which really only plays on the horizontal platform with their flex grooves. So what I mean by that is through the forefoot there's no split down the middle, and there's only a slight little split through this rear section through here in the rear foot for that heel striker that needs a little bit of extra give underneath their foot. So this shoe is all about energy return. It gives some considerable amount of cushioning, but it's all about getting that foot out of that mid-stance to toe-off phase as quickly as possible, keeping you on top of the ground. So what they don't want to do is put a rubber on the outsole that will contradict what they're trying to achieve with the midsole. So as you can see through here, that outsole configuration is nice and stable. It's got the horizontal flex screws through the forefoot. Let's count them after mid-stance. We've got your 1, 2, 3, 4. Obviously, little unique design there with the arrows pointing forward. So what that does, as you can see, as I flex the shoe through here, doesn't do anything out of the ordinary that what you usually get with a traditional horizontal flex groove. It just probably helps with that propulsion as you go through that toe-off phase. So that's your outsole component right there. Let's talk about the midsole through here. So now what we've got is a DNA amp. So if you haven't watched my previous Levitate video, I won't skip over this. DNA Amp is the first polyurethane blended midsole that Brooks have achieved last year with the Levitate version 1. And they haven't changed it obviously with the version 2. It's I can't give you the exact polyurethane breakdown, but what essentially polyurethane does is kicks back a lot more. It encapsulates the energy that is absorbed on that first point of impact with the shoe, and then it helps respond you through your mid-stance to toe-off phase. So I do want to quickly touch on that. So what we're finding with shoes is, obviously when you hit the ground, there is an element of what we call impact force that happens within every single shoe, whether it be heel strike or mid strike, or even in that forefoot region. So as soon as your foot hits the ground, there's an element of impact that occurs with the running shoe. As we go through our braking phase, which is what we classify as the mid-stance phase through here. Now braking being that it's use that term to slow down any mid-stance movement, now whether that be obviously pronate or supinate. So braking phase is minimizing the amount of velocity that's going through your foot. Now what is going to happen with the midsole through here? You're still going to be compressing or sinking through this phase. However, you don't want to be sinking at a higher rate than what you are on that first point of impact with the ground. So what we have found with this little shoe here, or this midsole component, is we tend to find a 20 to 25% differential with your impact zone and your braking zone. However, this is sort of pushing the 30 to 35% differential with that braking phase sort of compression rate, I suppose you call it. So what that essentially is doing is keeping your foot on top of the ground, and it's helping you get through to that toe-off phase a lot quicker. Personally, if you love a shoe that's got oodles of cushioning, really soft and plush underneath the foot, you're probably going to find this guy a little bit too responsive, a bit hard underneath the foot. But for the runner out there that really likes to turn the legs over quicker and stay on top of the ground, all about response, this little guy is a great shoe to consider. Now, what we're going to do, I'm going to hold the men's up in front of me through here. So we talked about the outsole, we talked about the midsole. I want to start talking about the upper changes in this specific shoe. So they've gone with sort of like the knitted style upper, which has been very popular for the last few years across all brands. What it essentially does is it provides a tighter woven configuration through that forefoot, which essentially holds the foot in quite well. I do like the knitted style uppers. What Brooks have done with this shoe in comparison to the old one, I've got version 1 right in front of me through here, so this is the black colour obviously. I am going to talk to you about the differences in the upper so you at home have enough information to decide whether this might be a shoe to consider. So I'm just going to put the version 2 down and talk about version 1 here for a moment. So they had a traditional internal heel counter at the back through here with its very Brooks, almost hang their hat on this, very, very soft plush collar on the inside. That is one of my favourite features with most Brooks mileage shoes, is how comfortable the collar is around the back of your calcaneus and your lower Achilles and your ankle as well. So it's a really nice plush fit. I've always loved the Brooks shoes the last couple of seasons with that collar configuration in combination with the internal heel counter part of me at the back through here. Now, when I hold up the version 2, what they've done is they've tweaked it quite a bit. So if I fold this little, I don't know what you want to call that. There's probably a technical name for it. I'm just going to call it booty or flared upper. I'm not going to patent that. That's just what I'm going to call it just for today's argument. But if I fold this in, essentially what you've got is you've got the exact same heel counter as what we have with version 1. There's no extra height. They certainly haven't shaved the height away. So you get the same internal heel counter. However, when I take my hand off, this little extra piece of material, which has got a bit of elastane in it, it's quite firm. It's almost like that booty construction we're seeing with a lot of running shoes out there. Probably Nike, the most recognisable for doing that construction. It's not overly high. But what they've done is they've extended it up the back of the Achilles through here. So you do naturally get a deeper feel in this shoe. Not to the point where it's a deeper, more supportive feel, but it just goes up around the back of your ankle, the back of your calcaneus a little bit more so. It's not as soft as what this little guy here is on the inside of that collar. So if you love that, you may not like how this is a little bit thinner, but they do have a suede lining on the inside through here. So that's a really nice feel, I must admit, on the foot. So what they've done is, instead of going for plush, foam, and configuration with the version 1, they've gone for a really nice finish with that suede, stitched in suede set up through here. Stitched in, there's no stitching that's going to rub on your foot by any means. Now, they could have done that also considering orthotic use, because I've done reviews in the past and we're talking about orthotics going inside running shoes and how they can dig into the back of that heel counter and cause a little bit of a split or a rip. Early days, I'd be incredibly surprised if that happens with any suede material. So that's a really durable material that Brooks have decided to put on the inside of that collar through there. So that's what I've done, is talked about the shoe from here back. Let's get talking about the mid-stance raise or the braking phase in the upper, what's going on with this shoe. So last year they had the navicular overlay. So if I just come through here, it's quite hard to see with the black shoe, but if you just follow my finger line through here, see those little sort of vertical slits or almost on an angle, these slits through here? Like so, as that come over the shoe, you can see that it wraps that mid-stance phase quite well in the version 1. So when you put your foot in here, it allowed for a little bit of expansion, a little bit of give. However, with those little overlays, just gave the shoe a little bit of integrity and quite some support in that section through mid-stance phase. Version 2, we've wiped that out. We don't have those vertical slits as such. We've got a slightly different upper material. That knitted upper is quite strong. What we do have, however, is if I just get through here, the lace, the tongue is essentially stitched into the upper, which sits just underneath this part of the shoe through here on both the medial and lateral side. So when you put your foot in and you do your shoelaces up, it does hug that foot in quite well. So therefore, obviously they didn't think they needed the extra stitching and overlays. They've just allowed for a traditional lacing configuration, which can customize to your exact requirements depending on your heel, your arch pitch, etc., and requirements for depth around here. So it's very accommodating. I've got no issues whatsoever. I've tried this shoe on myself. I have a slightly flatter arch when I'm not using an orthotic inside it, and it was It gave me the snug fit that I required. I've also got some staff members and some runners in the store that have come in and purchased this shoe already with quite high arches, which this little guy does cater for very, very well. So there's plenty of room and space for customizing that midfoot fit very well inside the Brooks Levitate version 2. As we come through to the forefoot, I can tell you right now there is nothing that really has changed at all with the fit through the forefoot. So it's not deeper, it's not shallower, it's not wider, it's not narrower. It is near on exactly the same forefoot feel in version 2 from what we got from version 1. So the only thing that has been tweaked is just ever so slightly the material they've used, but they've kept the same depth through that forefoot region. So probably a good thing. I like that secure fit through forefoot, especially when you're talking about a shoe that's got extra energy return underneath your foot. Could you imagine if this shoe was quite loose and boxy on your foot when you first put it on? It would, for those of you that like a really boxy feel, it wouldn't be great. It wouldn't work well with this midsole because we're talking about that extra kickback you get through braking or mid-stance face or toe-off face. If you're getting extra energy return, your foot's going to move around too much on that platform. So you want a relatively secure fit, which is what Brooks have achieved with the Levitate version 2 as well as the version 1. Okay guys, let's talk about the stack height with this little guy through here. We're talking a stack height or a heel to toe gradient of 8mm. That means we've got 26 in the heel and 18mm in the forefoot, and it's the same for both genders, men's and women's. So 26 heel, 18 forefoot. We've got a weight configuration of the version 1. They came in at 300 grams for the men's and 275 grams for the ladies, and that's measuring on a size 9 men's and a size 7 ladies. However, with our scales, there was marginal difference. We just found the new version to be 3 to 5 grams lighter. Now that's on my scales, not Brooks' scales. So I'd be very surprised if 5 grams was going to be the deciding factor for you at home. But yeah, not much has changed in that weight, which is great. That's it, Brooks Levitate version 2. If you have any questions on this shoe that I can help you out with, please drop a comment on this video below. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please do. We're going to do a lot of reviews in 2018. Yeah, so until next time, I suppose, happy running, and we'll see you soon.